Okay, we are now going to spend some time taking a look at what are the differences between quality assurance and quality improvement. The short version is that quality assurance is measuring performance like driving your car looking in the rearview mirror, whereas quality improvement is sitting down before you take your trip, pulling out your map, identifying your target destination, and then finding the best route to get to that particular location. And quality improvement is very similar. Quality assurance, on the other hand, relies on standards and thresholds that you measure, which really, as you'll see in the diagram here, focus on those areas right here that are outside the norm. And so that's where the focus is. So as we go through these various indicators that we've got here, reference points if you will, we'll describe further about what it means in terms of, for quality assurance, what do we mean in terms of these various items. By the way, this particular matrix comes from the courtesy of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Department of Health Resources and Services Administration. So let's just go through these quickly and see if we can identify where quality assurance is in this whole process, and then we'll do another diagram with quality improvement and the same. So again, the motivation for doing quality assurance is all about focusing on our standards that we create through some kind of fashion. In healthcare, those are obviously clinical in nature in the most cases. In terms of means, quality assurance looks at the process in terms of inspection. What do we mean by that? It means that we collect data based upon experience. For example, in the hospital setting, we might set a standard that we will not have any more than X% of unplanned readmissions within 30 days of discharge. The inspection would then go back and see how many did we have to readmit, what percentage of that was of the total number of admissions, and then how do we identify, here's our focus, of who caused those readmissions and what might have gone wrong. Key point. The attitude then is generally shown to be a more matter of, this is something I am required to do. Not very motivating, obviously. And it also evokes, generally speaking, a fairly defensive response. That is, I'm trying to explain away why there are differences rather than identifying opportunities for improvement. The focus then is the following, and we're going to highlight that in terms of the bad apples. Let's find those bad apples and get them out of the barrel, and somehow we've made improvements. Well, that's not necessarily true, but that's what happens. So the scope then is on the medical provider. So the key point here is the unit of analysis. Unit of analysis is not the stream of data or series of patients, but really more a function of the medical provider and trying to find fault, which is not good. And the last item is responsibility. If you're focusing on just the medical provider, your unit of analysis then is on the few. And you can see over here to the right, our little diagram, that if you somehow are able to get this part of the curve and get rid of the apples, the bad apples, that the improvement in the process or performance resulting is going to be just this little bit here. Very small incremental improvement. That's quality assurance. In the next slide, we're going to now go through the same process of identifying key indicators for quality improvement and how there is a substantial improvement in the overall process of care. Now we're going to turn our attention to an inspection or taking a look at quality improvement and see what it looks like, and then we'll go back to the quality assurance perspective. In terms of motivation, using the same indicators, this is all about a focus on continuously improving. That's continuous improvement of processes. And the difference here is that we're always looking ahead, using data from the past, but the focus is to continually move upward and to never be satisfied from where we are today. And so a lot of times you will see organizations use their results, post them out in a common database that people can take a look at, and then do benchmarking. So as you see common things about the same kinds of, it might be medical errors or patient falls, there are a lot of benchmark testing that's done. You can go out and compare your results with others, and when you see others and how they've improved, you can incorporate some of the work that they've done. The means then is really not about inspection as we saw in quality assurance, but it's about how do we prevent. So prevention is the primary focus. Just like in the clinical setting, trying to prevent unfortunate circumstances in the clinical setting, same focus, looking on at those risk factors. In terms of attitude, this is an attitude of always being proactive. How do I and my team work together to create improvements? And that means that we select or we choose to make a difference. And that's a big shift in thinking, as opposed to trying to find fault. It's how do we do things differently and that will produce better results. The focus then is, as we described earlier in the curriculum, it's all around the what we'll call the open systems model. That is input, process, outcome. And quality improvement takes a look at all of these components, not just one or the other. And that's an important differentiation between quality improvement and quality assurance. And the scope here is all about the process of patient care. What are we doing to create the best potential outcome in the care process? And last and certainly not least, it is quality improvement is an all-inclusive model. That means everybody on the team has an opportunity to participate in the process. So, what kind of results do you see? We'll go over to our little diagram, and we'll use red to highlight this. But you can see this is the normal curve of the entire process, and because we are looking at everything in terms of that whole process, the results that we get clearly indicate a major shift in performance from worse to better. And if we had the two diagrams, quality assurance and quality improvement, overlaid on top of one another, you would see that there is a marginal significant difference between QA and the outcomes there and quality improvement. So for the bottom line, one of the things that we see here as a result of participating in quality improvement is significant changes and perspectives around staff motivation, a willingness to see things with a great clarity and purpose, and a focus on being, let's move this up, frank, that's not a name, and honest in our assessment. And that is absolutely critical. This is where you get the best results. As a consequence, what happens is you, as a team, continue to build mutual trust. And the greater the trust between the members of the group, and especially the healthcare providers, then the more beneficial the outcomes and results are. It's all about becoming what we will refer to as a learning organization. We're constantly taking what we got from our last efforts to reflect back on, again, the model: input, process, outcome, feedback loops, coming from all different parts. It helps us to redesign the system so that the process we do the second time around is better and therefore have better outcomes. I hope this has been helpful, and we look forward to seeing you in the next module when we get into more of the tools of quality improvement and how we put them to use in a general practice setting.